Mike, and today I want to talk to you about the Ramen toy Makina Red Gullwing. This is the test shot, and I'm going to go through this. I'm going to compare it to the Kidder Mask Thunderhawk, which this is a completely different toy line. They just somehow look similar. And I'm going to look at all the features and the functions and kind of compare them. But remember, this is a test shot, so it's not the final. And we're going to talk about that, what the differences will be between this and the final, and go through all of this good stuff. But I gotta tell you, this is very solid. I'm really excited about this. We'll talk about this Red Gullwing coming up. Okay, so here we go with the Red Gullwing in just the standard car mode, and as you can see, it rolls really nice. It looks really good. The color of this is a much lighter color than the end result. The end result's going to have a much darker color to it. It's going to have vac metallized, looks like vac metallized chrome on the rims from the pictures that I have seen. So this is still looking really good the way it is. I was like, yeah, it's a little bit light, but seeing as how the end result is going to have a much deeper red to it, it's going to look a lot better. But a couple things that I want to point out, and we do kind of some comparisons, but the first thing that really stood out to me was that it looks almost like a real car. You don't see the toy aesthetic to it, so you don't see like the button up top here and a few of the other things. You don't see the spoiler trying to stick up on its own and those kinds of things. But we will kind of go through, I have quite a few of these Thunderhawks that have issues, so I will kind of show those issues that I've had with my current Thunderhawks. But this one here is really solid. Now, I was one of the ones that said that we didn't need a Thunderhawk, just go straight to the gray white and get us that one. But the thing is that there's a lot of reasons for this, and one thing is that you need a flagship piece to start the line. I understand that, but making massive improvements from the vintage version is definitely going to be a solid start to this line, and very exciting, and kind of a proof of concept of what could be done in the future with this line. I want to show the size of this thing. It is bigger than the original, which I did not anticipate, and so my understanding is it's bigger because they're trying to make it more like a real car versus just a toy of a car. And so with that, you can kind of see. So we put that here, we put this right here, and you can see how much shorter it is. That is a good amount of space, how much shorter it is. And then kind of get an aerial view and see how much wider it is. You can see how much wider it is with this aerial view, and so much bigger, much more like a real car than a toy version of a car. But try to get the right angle on this so that you can see it versus having it in hand. And that's another thing, is getting stuff in hand. It is so much different than just looking at pictures. Looking out from the back, it turns out that they went with the clear taillights, which is kind of a variant on the vintage one, because most of the vintage ones have just the red. It's kind of a different type of a red to the taillight, so they went with the clear one, which I actually like because obviously it's more realistic than just having a painted red. But overall, I'm very impressed with the design and styling of this. Let's get into functionality. All right, so as you know, the vintage ones have a pop-up door system. When you push this one button, that the doors would pop up. Now, a lot of things would happen on the vintage one. The doors would pop up, the back would pop up, and then these pieces pop out. Now, one of the things that they wanted to change was to completely hide these door gun blasters. It's got a solid click in and a solid click out, just like that. Doing it on both sides. Now, one thing about this is that it's not going to be vac metallized, which I would have liked, but it's going to be more of a silver, more kind of matching the cartoon, so that's what I understand with that piece there. So that is very solid, and it really does work very well. Very springy, very powerful, and it works just on one shot. Now, the fact that it's not an elevated button, you do have to kind of push it down all the way to make sure that it pops, but it pops every time, 100% of the time. Second thing is this slider here. Now, they did say some of these mechanisms might not work, or they might get hung up a little bit because they're still testing the fitment, but everything seems to work perfect. So if this is the test, then it works perfect. And then we can just close that up. We can do it again, just get it to where it's on the screen, and it works perfect. So very nice. I was a little concerned because two things happen right here and it's different than the other one. And so the thing about this being different, it's because it actually is going to function better, work better. And one of the problems that you see is that it never really goes all the way down on the vintage one. It doesn't actually cover the engines. And this one, on the vintage one, this one will completely cover the engines and look just like a real car. Very good engineering. It really gets me excited about what's going to happen with future vehicles, with the amount of work and perfection that they're trying to put into the operation of this. Very, very impressive. So let's go ahead and look at a few of the other features. So with this open, we do see a sticker up here. So they aren't going to do stickers on this. The rest is going to be tamper-graphed painted, which, I mean, that's built into the price point there. The tamper-graph painted, and we'll talk about when I show you some of my other ones, but the stickers come off real easy. Stickers don't usually last the test of time. This seatbelt is interesting because it's this red tab on the seatbelt is on both sides, and it's one piece of elastic threaded through that part right there to the other side, and there's this tab on each side, and it plugs into the seat. You give it the resistance from each side. Now you do kind of have to kind of work your fingers around in here, but since the seat pushes forward and back, you can get your fingers back there too. Plug it in real good, and they're not going anywhere. And I do have another figure in here. This is a vintage Kenner mask figure. It's not part of this toy line at all, but it fits in here. It's just kind of happy accident, so a whole lot of fun. And so with that, I kind of want to show that also. And then other features, this chair, both of them slide forward and back, which I never really thought about that. Like that as being something you would engineer into this vehicle. And one of the things you can do because of that is you might be able to work yourself a Scott in there. I tried to figure out a way to do it, but you can't really close the door. Well, you probably could if you worked it enough, but I'm sure there's some sort of mechanism if you crammed them too hard. I just gently slid them in there. I thought there'd be enough room in the back seat for a Scott to fit in. Would have been kind of nice, would have been kind of fun to stick Scott back there so that he can go along for the ride, but he's probably gonna fall out. But still, I'm surprised how much space there is back there with all that's going on. Okay, so trying to get a good look in here and getting the detail into the dashboard, which it is kind of hard because it is kind of small in there, but we have a steering wheel and we have some detail on the dashboard itself. You do have pedals in there, which look nice, and I think there's going to be a lot of different colors. There's going to be different colors to this than what we see right now. You have the shifters red and that, and then bring it around to the other side. You have what looks to be kind of like a monitor kind of stuff. Some really interesting stuff that's going on in here and some detail. But all this is going to be either painted at different colors. It's going to look a whole lot different on the final copy. Now we get in here to the bottom where we have the bomb bay, and then you slide this and it opens the bombs and they would fall out just through gravity, friction, that kind of stuff. So watch this. That's very satisfying and it works very well. And I have to say, this whole mechanism is so much better than what we got with a vintage version of this. Resetting them back there is pretty easy. Hard to do on camera. Well, I guess it's not as hard as transforming Master Transformer, but it's still hard to do on camera. But yeah, that's pretty cool. But getting into the bombs, there's actually something else with bombs. They actually include 2 red ones to go with your vintage one. Now, they fit perfect. They feel almost exactly like an original one. And then, of course, they function properly to fall out and all that good stuff. Okay, so let's take a closer look. The red ones are the ones that they sent that's going to go along with this. This is part of the test shot. The first ones here are the first ones they sent me, so that I can get a picture of them inside of a Thunderhawk. Now they are a bit big and you can cram them in there, but it is a bit hard to get them out. But they do cram in, they don't drop out very easy. So they made them a little smaller so they work and function properly. The original plan was that both styles would fit into this bomb bay, but after working on it a bit, they decided to scratch that and just give us some that are going to fit with our vintage one. And so here is the vintage one. So it's not exactly the same, and you're not going, maybe people will mix it up or not, but it's slightly different, way different, well, way different than the vintage ones. So they're not. Okay, so next up we have these side view mirrors that you can put on to make it look more like a real car. I understand that this one here is a little loose. The other one fits in perfect, and I'm pretty sure it has to do with the fact that it's a test shot. It's just not 100% yet. This one fits in great. One of them fits in great. One of them's a bit loose, and I'm pretty sure when we get to production, we are not going to have that issue, but it is to kind of give it a better look overall, and it does look more like a real car. Really, this thing is super car in disguise. You know, it's really looking great. All these little details that we didn't get in the vintage one, and yes, it's pretty awesome. So here's a flight stand. We don't really know what the colors are going to totally be, but it's kind of interesting. So it'll have a base that's whatever color it is, and this is, of course, test shot stuff. It's not fitted, and none of the stuff's glued on or anything, but interesting how this works. So I'm taking it, this will be the front, and these would kind of be the rear, and then we can pop that and then pop that and set it on there, and then we can have it going. And so a couple of different display options, but maybe I always try to like push the envelope of what we can do with the stuff that we get. And so with that, you can kind of do this and you can have it look like it's flying downwards, whatever. Most people are gonna have it flat and straight. And actually looking at it, I think this might actually hold better for the takeoff pose also. Let's see here. Yeah, so you can have it taken off and in flight. So it's not just sitting there in one static pose. You can have it look doing all kinds of stuff. And I bet you if you mess with this enough, you can make it look like it's flying sideways. It's got a bit of a tilt to it. Now for the Mad Hawkins figure, and I gotta say that he looks pretty good. So this is something where it's a little point of contention for people, but guess what? I'm happy with them upgrading it. Head side to side. It feels like it might have a little up and down. I'm not gonna stress it too much, but it looks like it might have a little up and down. And then shoulder going out to the right there, and then 360. And then we have the elbow with the joint right there, so that's good. You have waist swivel. You don't really need an ab crunch with these because he does go all the way down like so. Leg goes up that far, back this far. And if I stress it, we might go further than that, but I really don't need it. I don't need it. So, and then the knee to a 90, but way more articulation than what we got with the vintage figures. So, okay, so with all this articulation, it takes a little bit of fiddling, but you can get them in all kinds of poses. They had him in a running pose in one of the pictures, so I wanted to show that. And so all this articulation, he does definitely stand really well, and you have all that articulation compared to what we had before. What we had before, you could move the head side to side, you can move the arms, and then the legs, and that's really it. That's all we had. It was considered a 7 point of articulation, but not really all that great for articulation. And that's what we weren't after that as kids, because we pretty much looked at the figures as accessories, or I know a lot of people did, and the vehicle was the main thing. So we also have the mask here, but let's take a quick side-by-side of these. Quite a bit of detail and looks really good. Going more for a tune accurate look to it, and with all that good stuff going on there. And then here they are from the back. But I want to point out that it's been said that the eyes, they don't want painted eyes. And the eye dots. I want the eye dots. That's one of the biggest complaints from mask collectors all these years, is lacking the eye dots. I say we get the eye dot. Make them look more like a human being and have a soul and all that good kind of stuff. Please do. They went with the short mask version, which I like. I prefer. It is, in my opinion, the better version of the mask, so I do like that. And they did a pretty good job with it. So overall, it's an upgrade to what we got in the past, and definitely an upgrade from the long mask version. And wouldn't it be nice to have like a set of figures like this that have all this articulation, which I'm not really sure what's going on the side there, or something on the side there, that some sort of accessory or something that is just molded in, but much better to have brought in to the modern era. So I want to go through a few of these and show issues I've had over time and how I believe that they will be resolved on this. So obviously the stickers that wear off and look really ratty, that is an issue. The issue, let's see how this one pops up. This one actually works, mechanism works okay. They don't all do that very well. The other thing that we have an issue with, you see how this like slides down, falls down, and doesn't hold in place. Well, that holds in place better than a lot of them, but these don't hold down. Now, there's tricks that you can use to fix these if you have vintage ones, but with that, this is resolved because it's a firm click in place both directions to fix this, to specifically fix this. This one here, you can still see the engines, even it's in the down mode, and that's down pretty good actually for one of these, but you still see the engines and the mask sticker and all that kind of stuff, and that is something that you don't have that issue with this one. It's a nice tight rear end, and no missile, no engine sticking out, no thruster sticking out. Very, very clean. And with many of them, the doors won't go up all the way and don't want to clip in place. Now, I've done a lot of work to mine so that they would clip in place. Probably need to do more sticker work and more work to fix a few of these other issues with them. But still, oh, the other thing was tires. Tires crack and break off. They said these aren't going to be rubber, but it feels like a rubber. It's a different kind of plastic. I'm not exactly sure what they said they used, but it feels a little bit rubbery, but it's not rubber according to what they said. But really awesome that this is going to stand the test of time. All right, so here is the red Gullwing aside some vintage Kenner mask vehicles, so you can kind of get an idea of what it would look like in a Kenner mask display. Now, it's not a Thunderhawk, it is the red Gullwing, and I think it looks great. I think it will fit in very well, even though it's a little bit bigger than a Kenner Thunderhawk. It fits in to this collection really well. It looks really good. And if this looks this good without the proper color and the vac metallized or the kind of shiny tires, if this looks this good without all of the paint apps to it instead of stickers and all that kind of stuff, I can't wait to see what the production is going to look like. It's going to look amazing. But I'm curious what you guys think. Are you in on getting this? Have you decided to pick this up? Is this something that you've pre-ordered? Are you waiting for it to release? I do want to say that there are only going to be about 2,000 made, I believe, and a lot of those are already sold. The early bird pricing is over. That's why it's now $170. But I am excited for this. I'm also excited for the Great White, and I'm excited for quite a few projects coming from Ramen Toy. But anyway, let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe. Teddy Hanger out.
Spectrum, microwave frequency. Satellite link to mass computer. Yeah. Select. See you later, kiddo.
Spectrum's got such super